Hi, I'm Kris Vallotton. I'm the founder of Regis. I want to talk to you a little bit about it. Are you a senior executive or business leader? You're ready to really connect with God's heart for your work? Well, we designed the Regis Summit where faith and the marketplace collide. We're igniting vision, we're redefining purpose, and we're forging kingdom partnerships. This is going to be an intimate 2.5-day event exclusively for only 50 senior executives. And we're offering strategies for personal and corporate spiritual growth while we're really redefining what success looks like in the kingdom. Not long ago, the Lord gave me a prophetic word. He said, prepare for the kings are coming. And I'm like, Lord, who are the kings? How do I prepare? And how do I help the kings? And the Lord told me that he is connecting the prophets, the priests, and the kings. And I'm like, okay, how do we connect the prophets, the priests, and the kings? Well, out of that was birthed this Regis Summit. Again, 50 executives, small group of people having a supernatural experience together, all with the theme of leadership and business. It's a gathering where we're going to build deep connections with one another. We're actually going to do some equipping and some prophetic stuff over every single leader that's there. So there'll be prophetic sessions. There'll be, I think, some really profound business insights. How do you lead with the Holy Spirit? How do you actually find your superpower? And how do you infuse that into your everyday life? I think it's going to be fantastic. So I'd love for you to join us. It's May 28th through 30th. It's in Scotts Valley, California. There's a super beautiful retreat center. It's going to be 2.5 days of just really, I think, kind of laid back and yet intense ministry. So obviously, there's only room for 50. So we want to see 50 executives who are hungry to have a supernatural experience and also learn more about how do we join the prophets, priests, and kings. Space limited again. Love to see you sign up. God bless you.
That chapter was dark. And I really remember just like Romans 5:3-4 of not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character hope. And we had conversations over, and your team like really helped and was a huge catalyst for me and a lot of words on that and perseverance and really, during those quiet times, during the prayer and meditation, the Lord just helped us get through it. It was running a publicly traded company from a house, having our son back with us, needing one-on-one help with a daughter that was 4 or whatever she was, doing pre-K on Zoom, which was a disaster. It was like dogs chasing squirrels. And then April 1 of 2020 was my first, that's when I took over as chairman of Autism Speaks, where we saw funds just go down. So, it was everything hitting the fan. But I just remember too, Romans 5:3, but also just like Psalm 37 of just be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him.
Hi, welcome to Cultural Catalyst, where we teach you how to live fully live, co-labor with God, and change the world. I have my really good friend, Brian Harper, from New York. He's a New Yorker. And he's also, I have to just say this part, you can tell them what you do in just a minute. I'll work with you on that. But he's also one of the kings that the Lord put in my life to give me counsel. And this man right here already saved me about $20 million on building a building that we've been building, and I'm just so thankful for you. So, Brian, thank you for coming on. And you're the founder and managing partner of 11 North Partners in real estate. It's a real estate company. And you also were the chair of Autism Speaks because you have a wonderful son named Caleb who I think is around 18 now, isn't he? Years old?
Yeah, just turned 19 actually.
19, yeah. And so we can talk about that journey. Why don't you talk just a little bit about the journey that you have in just coming to the Lord, and get our audience caught up to who you are as a man and a father.
Yeah, no, it's nice to be on, and you know how much I love you and Kathy and everybody at Bethel. So it's an honor to be here. Just about me, was born just outside the city. I'm actually a ninth generation New Yorker, New York City. Actually, kind of fun fact: my great grandfather was mayor of New York. Started Harper Brothers Publishing, Vanity Fair, Harper's Weekly. He was mayor of New York in 1844.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and just a whole story on that. But moved to Chicago when I was young. My dad was a banker. He actually opened up a corporate office for Bank of New York in Chicago. Loving family, grew up Episcopal, brother and sister. I was the oldest. Went to University of Kansas. That's where I met my better half, my bride, Lale, who you know and love. We have two kids. Zoe, who's 9, Caleb, who we talked about, is 19. I've been in commercial real estate my whole career, so kind of commercial real estate finance. Run publicly traded companies. The last one we recently sold about a year ago, and just a great success and super team that executed on the highest level. And since then, you know, God put it on my heart to create my own. So we've founded and created a real estate investment trust with a bunch of large limited partners that's focused on commercial real estate, retail, grocery anchored, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, from California to the East Coast. So
as a matter of fact, you were the CEO of a company that bought the Shasta Mall in our town, and I think that's the first time I met you. I think
2013. Yeah, Mount Shasta Mall is a great story, and you know, bought that mall and then bought the Sears box back and thought we had Whole Foods. That's when Amazon bought Whole Foods, so they were not doing deals, and we put Sprouts in, we put Chick-fil-A in, we put Home Goods in, and it was not a nice looking building with Sears. It's a much nicer looking building with all those tenants.
It is, and you did. I mean, I think what attracted you to take that mall, because that's a pretty small mall deal for what you guys usually do. But I think you love Reading, right? You love Bethel and love Reading, and
yeah, and it's love everything what you guys stand for. Love the community, and you know, it's I have a passion obviously on real estate, and I have a passion on what God does through real estate, and especially when you take a dilapidated Sears building and with maybe, you know, a few employees, and you kind of reimagine what could be on that.
Yes.
What's supposed to be on, and I think one of your friends owns the franchisee for Chick-fil-A.
yeah, he does. Yeah, Ahab, he's amazing.
Yeah. So it was an awesome small part to be in. I had an awesome team that executed on that. So yeah, it was a good story.
Let's talk a little bit about Caleb. I think it'd be really good to, you know, share with our audience the journey you've been on and where you're at now, if you feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah, of course. So let me kind of peel back on you a little bit on how I got involved with Autism Speaks because of Caleb. So this must have been 10 years ago. A gentleman, and let me get to the end of it. This is a great God story too. A gentleman was in my office that I was meeting for the first time. We were at our office we had at Bryant Park here in Manhattan. And at that time, Malali and I were just very private about Caleb.
Yeah.
We didn't have Zoe at that time.
Were you private for any reason?
I think a lot of, a lot of just sadness.
Sadness. Yeah.
Some shame, maybe something we feel we did. I mean, there was a lot of emotions that went into this.
Yeah.
and we're generally just very private people,
Yeah.
generally. And this gentleman was in my office, did not know I had a son. I don't think he even knew I was married outside of me if he saw my wedding ring. And right before we were meeting on on an investment deal in Boston, and just before he left, he's like, Brian, he's like, you really remind me of one of my good friends. You think alike, you invest alike. Would you mind? Like, I'm feeling like I should connect you. He didn't say I'm feeling God. He didn't say nothing. He's like, I'm feeling I should connect you. Like, I love networking. I love meeting people. Awesome. He introduced me to this gentleman, another Brian. We emailed back and forth. Our assistants schedule a time 2 weeks from then. It's on my calendar. It was a Friday at 4:30 at night. I specifically remember it. Keep in mind, this is like 10 years ago. And he goes, I looked him up 2 minutes before, and I'm like, what does this call for? Because I forgot. It was 2 weeks before. And I'm like, who is this Brian? And I looked him up, and needless to say, on his bio, he had a very successful real estate company in Boston and Santa Barbara. And he talks about his son, Patrick, in his bio, who has autism, and he was chairman of Autism Speaks. It's the first time meeting a dad, meeting a man, and needless to say, it was a 2-hour call, and we talked about work for 2 minutes.
Wow.
And he's like, I've researched about you. I know what's going on. I don't know how. We're resetting our board. We want youthful energy and new innovation and blah, 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 blah. And this is a company, a nonprofit that Bob Wright and his wife started. And in a time of the Wild West, I think 2005, where there wasn't a lot of autism. There wasn't a lot of it. It was the puzzle piece. And we like to say you meet one person with autism, you meet one person with autism, because there's high functioning, there's low functioning.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to talk about because everybody has their own journey.
Yes.
That is autistic. And we want to honor and respect everybody's journey.
Yeah.
And so that led to just a really deep conversation. It led to me, longing, interviewing for the board and getting on. And it led to a really deep mentoring relationship. And this was a man.
Him mentoring you?
Yeah, just challenges,
Yeah.
what to do and what not to do. Advice.
Yeah.
I didn't have an outlet at that, Kris. I didn't have an outlet of people that have gone through similar things. And experiences of what to do, but more importantly, what not to do.
Yeah.
And so he's a beautiful man of God, deep Catholic, beautiful man, and it led to this just Autism Speaks thing, and you can't make that up.
And Caleb was only 9 then, huh?
Correct. And he was diagnosed in 2005, and
so how old was he when he got diagnosed?
I'm sorry, 2000. He was diagnosed in 2007. He was born in 2005, so he was diagnosed at 2. It was just a journey, and at that time it wasn't advanced as it is now, where there's a lot of resources and doctors and medical staff that can really help early intervention.
Yeah.
There's a little bit, and not nowhere near now.
Yeah.
And so it's been a journey. It's just been a long journey. He's at a beautiful school now, upstate New York. We see him pretty much every weekend. It was the hardest decision we ever made. Pre-COVID, there were some challenges of aggression and things like that. COVID just escalated it, and not being in his kind of routine, saying, okay, this community, forget school, forget therapists, forget that, they're with you 24/7 without other familiar faces. And so we quickly, through older gentleman at Autism Speaks said, it's time. It takes a village. And there are beautiful schools in the world that really take on kids like Caleb and they flourish. And my son flourishes. My daughter flourishes.
So good.
And they were all telling me kind of testimonies of what there. And, it was a 2-hour or 2-year process of getting him into school.
Oh my goodness.
Stunning. And he's there. And he's been in for about 2 years. So
and he's really flourished in that school, hasn't he?
he is. Lale and I call him the school like just it's heaven on earth. It's angels. They're deep. Their tagline for the school is Center for Excellence.
Wow.
They excel in every facet. It is unlike any business nonprofit I've seen. We are blessed upon words can even express our gratitude for this place.
Do you think that autism has increased, or do you think that's just been discovered?
Oh, it's absolutely been increased. We don't know why. You could look at the world and say, okay, could it be environment? Could it be food? Could it be a number of different things? When I was growing up, it wasn't this prevalent.
Really?
Now, the spectrum has widened. And so there's just a lot more labeling going on of, ADD or ADHD.
Yeah, of course.
Caleb needs one-on-one help 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so it's a much different experience, a much different chapter than other kids. Just everybody's got their own journey.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing that Autism Speaks does, and another stunning organization run by a terrific CEO, is they treat everybody for where they're at, and they love everybody, and they have unbelievable resources. Their political cloud is unlike anything in that sector. I've been fortunate to meet dignitaries and politicians and actresses and athletes and just amazing. It's enabled me to be having a platform where I get a lot of inbounds of how do you deal with this, and a lot of those conversations have lead me to talk about my faith, that lead me to talk about things we did right, things were disasters on or did wrong. And it's just been a beautiful way that I think the Lord's put me on a platform to really help. It was last April, I was chair of this gala. We have 100 chefs, a lot of them Michelin, cooking at 100 different tables here in Manhattan at a beautiful hall. It's one of the top charity events in the city. And, it was April 2nd, World Autism Day. And I was on ABC Nightly News with a character from The Chosen.
Wow.
Talking about Matthew, who plays an autistic, right, in the show. And him and I were talking about God, autism, and that on the news. I leave. We announce a press release for our new business venture.
Yeah.
Walk down or drive down with Matthew down to or the actor that plays Matthew down to the gala. We break all financial records.
Wow.
And of raising money, and it was just like a kiss, and it was just
so beautiful.
Yeah, it really was stunning, and it was just that. It was a stunning night. Raised a bunch of money for just a great cause, great need, so many people need it, and it was just awesome.
So you've been a part of multi-billion-dollar business deals. Mm-hmm. You have a son has pretty extreme autism from the standpoint of needs 24-hour care that you just said. Went through some really tough things during his years of puberty and all of that. And can I just ask you, so you got tons of pressure outside. You don't come home to a peaceful house often in those years. How did you get up out of bed? How'd you survive?
I don't know, to be honest. I look back at that and I'm like, oh, we made it. And we can, it's always, I mean, the beauty of Caleb is he has made me a better human. He's made me a better man. He's made me a better leader. He's made me a better husband. He's made me a better father. He's made me a better friend. Um, I see the world through empathy and focusing on people's goal, not weaknesses. But that chapter was dark, and I really remember just like Romans 5:3-4 of not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope. And we had conversations over, and your team like really helped and was a huge catalyst for me
Yeah.
and a lot of words on that and perseverance and really, you know, during those quiet times, during the prayer and meditation, I mean, the Lord just helped us get through it. I can't, I mean, it was running a publicly traded company from a house, having our son back with us, needing one-on-one help with a daughter that was 4 or whatever she was, doing pre-K on Zoom, which was a disaster. It was like dogs chasing squirrels. And then April 1 of 2020 was my first, that's when I took over as chairman of Autism Speaks, where we saw funds just go down. So, I mean, it was everything hitting the fan. But I just remember too, Romans 5:3, but also just like Psalm 37 of just be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. And I'm not a patient person. I live in the city. I'm with urgency.
We are brothers.
And move. But like it was just like listening and it's like he's not going to give you anything you can't handle. And I always remember it's just like right when we thought we would break and literally just getting real of like lots of tears and lots of feeling some hopelessness. It would be like we get this shot of hope. We get a call, we get a text, we get a a positive day.
Yeah.
But it was living literally minute by minute, moment by moment in this house with navigating a lot of different stresses that, especially as a dad, as a father, of keeping calm, internally.
Were you ever really scared?
Yeah, I was scared for him. I was scared for my family. I was scared for that aspect. My mind raced to a lot of sometimes not good thoughts of future stuff for him. But that's just when I balance and I get centered back in the Word and just go back and I'm like, okay, I'm centered now. I remember too, and like the Lord speaks through Caleb in profound ways. And I remember, we have a place out in Long Island and we left the city. The city got really smacked by COVID first in the United States. And this is like mid-March, I want to say. And so the city was still packed. I'm like, I just feel we should get out of here. And we were leaving, we were packing. And I remember exactly the place. We were walking to our car garage. Our garage, where lots of cars are kept in the city. We don't have a garage attached to a house. It's a city garage. But I remember Caleb looks at me and my wife and goes, our city's not going to be the same. And these aren't words that he says.
Yeah.
He's like, the restaurants will be closed. There will be riots. There will be looting. And we're like, what are you talking about? Restaurants were still open. There was activity, and subways, and the city was not shut down. And he's like, there will be a lot of damage.
Wow.
What? And then fast forward,
Super prophetic.
Yeah.
What, what, imagine right now that somebody's child has just been diagnosed with autism, and this is the first time they hear anybody talking about it. Maybe they've been diagnosed a week ago. What would you say? What would be?
I think early intervention is really beautiful. I mean, obviously, I would say, go to AutismSpeaks.org. We have a beautiful resources there, a 100-day kit. They have a team standby, to answer questions, all that. Outside of that, I would say, don't do what we did. Raise your hand for help, and it's a village. Your friends and family are there to help. Your local churches or synagogues are there to help. Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Don't say I got this or I can do this all by ourselves. And I'm not saying that's what we did, but raise your hand and share your emotions. It's not good to internalize.
Yeah.
It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be fearful. But just raise your hand, and because it's so much more advancements than it was, 5 years ago.
Lots of help now.
Lots of help.
And what have you learned about leadership through the last, 5-6 years of your journey? Because I know you to be a really great leader, incredibly wise, really centered, and not just wise, but your people follow you. Like, what have you learned in the last few years that's helped you, deepen your resolve and expand your capacity?
I mean, I think our what we've endured with Caleb, in our journey on that has really put everything in perspective. And seeing others' challenges has put everything in perspective.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, I think what I see now is much more empathy.
Yeah.
Much more focusing on people's strength and not their weaknesses. Much more, humility, servanthood.
Yeah.
I mean, I think passion for driving results, but acknowledging that a great high functioning team drives results better than just you.
Yeah.
That it does take a village in an organization. It does take a team, Michael Jordan didn't win without Scottie Pippen, and they didn't win multiple without Dennis Rodman and Steve Kerr and all that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes.
It's referenced like athletics, and there's great parallels to that, but I think the big thing has just been more of serving others and having empathy. Someone comes into the office with a bad mood. You don't know what happened the night before.
Yeah, exactly.
And have some grace, have some passion, be 100% transparent, be authentic. It's not all sugarcoating. See, there's some things you can't tell everybody, but be yourself, be your true north, and just and yeah.
What do you look for in a team? You've built several fantastic teams in the business world. And then obviously you've built a team, you and Layla have built a team around you to, take care of your son. And so you've done a really good job. As you just point out, like, we always have these comparisons. I think it's just part of the fun of sports, but like, is LeBron James better than Michael Jordan? And it's like, these guys didn't play basketball one-on-one by themselves. They were on teams, and nobody in basketball wins without a great team. So, in fact, as the team goes, so do you go. So what do you look for in a team, and what are some of your core cultural values for a team?
I think integrity is not is not a maybe, it's a must. And so it starts
Yeah.
with integrity, as I like to say, like put my real estate on is the foundation, right? The walls could be, and it depends because just like Caleb, Caleb at 2 had a puzzle, Kris, of the United States and memorized every state and capital in a day.
Wow.
And we were living in Chicago at the time. And our neighbors were like, this is a riot. And they're like, we're going to do the same thing with Asia and Africa. Did the same thing in a day. Zoe couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But Zoe can tie her shoes. Zoe can do athletic things. Zoe, is in mainstream school. So there's a lot of different strengths and weaknesses. I mean, when we moved to the city, he remembered in a week every subway stop in every borough.
Wow.
But he needs help going to the bathroom. He needs help brushing his teeth.
Yeah.
Like things, you know what I'm saying? So it allows me of like what one person's strength in accounting or a CFO is another person's strength in sales or another person's strength in that. But what I do love, so it's like, financial acumen for all my financial people and things like that are obvious, but like the core traits of what I look for, integrity, I love humility. I love a chase for curiosity.
Yeah.
Of always striving to be curious. I love those that are generous with their strengths.
Yeah.
Willing to teach others that are really gifted at certain aspects. And I love the pursuit for excellence. I would say pursuit for excellence, integrity, humility are must-haves, and curiosity. I don't want people, and I'd be guilty in the past where, you have yes people that just say yes to you. Like, I want to have conversations. I want to have respect. I want to have everybody has a voice. We're almost titleless. Everybody's the same. God created everybody the same. Like, you have titles on business cards. Who cares?
Yeah.
Everybody's got an opinion, and it's having an atmosphere that allows that to happen and allows mistakes to be had.
Yeah. I read a quote a few weeks ago, but it came up again this week. If everybody agrees, no one's thinking. I don't think that's always true, but if you have a culture where everybody always agrees, it's like no one's thinking.
100%.
What do you do when people fail? Have you ever had a major failure?
Of course. Many.
What do you do? Like, because I think you learn more from failures than you do from successes. Well, you have potential to learn more.
You have a potential to learn more from failures, and you have a potential to learn more, at least I did, of horrible leaders in the past than good ones.
Yeah.
Just doing opposite,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But failure is, and it's like founder or CEO or whatever it is. It's like my number one job is like strategy and culture and fixing problems.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's one problem a week, that's 52 going through that's like a big year. But it's coming up with resolution and coming up with like a fact pattern of why it happened, what went wrong, and how do we put some governance around this so it doesn't happen again, right?
Yes.
Or how do we do it? But it might be 80% of new things. It might be 5% of new things.
Yes.
And it's like resolving that. Sometimes it's one-on-one. Sometimes that's a group, and we whiteboard and we understand like going through. We're recently working on a big transformational deal that we ended up didn't winning, and about a few days after we lost, like we went through a process of everything we did great through our process, and what can we do better the next all process. Who's got what, and went through checks and balances, and it was just a beautiful thing because there'll be another big transformational thing, God willing. And it's like finding that, figuring it out, and coming up with the best systems and processes that you can do next time.
It's like debriefing and asking the hard questions. You know, is there a place we failed, or is there a place we could have done better, or did we actually do it right and it just didn't work, right? Because you know, I mean, contrary to popular opinion, you can do everything right and it still doesn't work.
Yep.
And maybe it's not supposed to work, or maybe someone else is supposed to get that deal, or what, you know, on and on and on, right? But I you know, I lived in a world in early days where you didn't tell the boss things he didn't want to hear. You know, it's the prototype. You know, the emperor's got no clothes, but don't anyone tell him.
Yeah.
And that created a culture, right, where really it's not a culture of creativity. It's not a culture of Imagineers. It's not a culture of strategic thinking. It's a culture of making sure that we please the boss. And nobody wants to give the boss bad news, and nobody wants to tell the boss that his idea is really stupid. And I think what you just shared is so powerful, because I you know, I have the privilege of knowing you. So you know, you're open, you're an open-minded thinker, and you're an open-minded leader, and you attract people who do think, which is probably way rarer than people actually know that it is.
Yeah. It's I don't want to check the box culture. You know, I've been a part of that growing up in business, and you know, where you're sitting in a room and 50 people are in a room and 2 people are talking, and you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
That is really one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, you know, as visionaries, as pioneers, as leaders, like we're taking on new frontiers. And with new frontiers, you don't know what's there.
Yeah.
You know, if you're on the same path every time, you're just going to be, you know, vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream or strawberry ice cream, like no sprinkles or vanilla, you know, swirls or any of that. Like, my favorite sports quote of all time is Wayne Gretzky. I say, skate where the puck's going to be, not where the puck's at.
Yeah, I love it too.
You know, that made a great, you know, arguably one of the top 2, top 3, you know, hockey players of all time. Like, we want to be ahead on where, you know, investing is going to be, not following the herd.
Yeah.
Sometimes around the edges, you're herd investing, but you know, the big alpha, the big results are being ahead of the pack, right?
Yeah.
Finding the next Austin and Nashville, Tennessee, right? And sometimes that's going to be mistakes, but it's putting controls and systems around the business that mitigate that, right? And but it's that thought leading that's a must for everybody in the organization.
That's so good. Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question.
Yeah.
You went to the Regis Summit, the first one we had. We had the first one last year, and you came to it. And what did you think about it? What were your honest thoughts?
I mean, I told you it was the best. I've been to many Christian business conferences over a 25 year plus career. This was the best. I think a couple takeaways: inspiration, fellowship, safety, and meaning safe, where it was just people that came with the same hunger, the same desires. There was no shameless networking of sell me this, sell me that, or do that. It was just incredible. Your team, it was every detail, every level of excellence, the accommodations, I mean, it was brilliant. So
Thank you.
Hopefully I'll be an annual guest.
I figured I'd ask you, and then if it wasn't good, I'd just cut it out at the end anyway. Brian, you're on LinkedIn, right?
Yep.
And is there any other place where people could like connect with you?
Yeah, Instagram, I have an account, but I never look at it. But LinkedIn's the best.
LinkedIn's the best. So you can connect there with Brian Harper on LinkedIn. Hey, thanks for coming on. I know you're super busy, so this was sacrifice for you to do this. I just, you know, I just really appreciate your wisdom, and also obviously working with Caleb and kind of staying close to your family, some of those really hard times. And I just thought you'd be a great interview because there's so many people. Maybe maybe their child doesn't have autism, but I mean, raising kids in this environment is not easy. No
No.
matter where your kids are at, and I know that people are just inspired hearing your story and getting some of your wisdom. So thank you so much for connecting. Autism Speaks. Tell me, how do we get in touch with that? I think there may be we can put a link there.
www.autismspeaks.org.
One more time.
www.autismspeaks.org.
Good. We'll put that on the link too. Thanks, Brian. I'll see you soon too.
See ya. Take care. Look forward to seeing you.